20 years of this horse sinking into the sand and about to be destroyed by the waves. That's not something that happens every day. It was pretty magical. So for the first time ever, a long-held dream of mine, we're able to do the entire movie that way.
Ithaca's king is coming back.
No, he's not.
Christopher Nolan, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, yeah, very well, thank you. Most of your films in the past, they've had, 3, 4, maybe 5 giant set pieces. This has about triple that. What do you think tested your limits the most in this film?
I mean, a lot of different things. Certainly shooting on the boats the way we did. I mean, I'd done Dunkirk with the same Marine coordinator, Neil Andre, who's brilliant at the job, best in the business. And even when I was writing the script, every time I'd write something on a boat, because I knew what that takes to film on the open water. Oh, so I have to be on boats. Like, well, it's the Odyssey, so yes. And that proved to be, having an ancient vessel, a boat built according to those ancient specifications. Everything's wooden, the rigging's all wooden, all that. Being out on the open water with a cast and crew, it was a tall order, but everybody pulled together. And I mean, Odysseus's crew, these guys, they bedded in with the crew of the Draken, the ship that we were using, and they learned how to row the thing. They learned how to raise the yard, raise the sails, and so. By the time we got there with our camera, Hoyter and I are there on deck. We were shooting it kind of like a documentary. I mean, it was really thrilling to do. But boy, yeah, it was tough. It's tough on everybody.
I bet. I just what I loved about the Odyssey is how you're kind of doing tapping into different genres within this story, of course, because the material lends itself to that. And most notably, I want to talk about this scene with Circe, the brilliant Samantha Morton.
Yeah.
It was great to see you kind of really leaning into the fantasy horror genre, I guess. Yeah. Talk to me a bit about kind of your aims and potential obstacles and what your overall vision was for that amazing scene.
Well, for me, firstly, I knew that I wanted Samantha to play the part, and it almost didn't work out. She's very busy. Thankfully it did, because I just knew, I've always wanted to work with her. I knew she'd bring something incredible to it. But I also wanted to take a technological approach that could be performance driven. And so we wanted to embrace the horror element. I'm a big fan of horror. I think that it's the most visceral of genres. It's the one, in a way, the most purely cinematic of genres, where you're really trying to directly kind of affect the audience with the sound of picture. And so in affecting the transformation, we wanted to try and come up with a way that we could film it that would be driven by her performance and let her kind of really act and really just make it her own. And I challenged my special effects and visual effects guys to do that, and they came up with incredible solutions. I don't want to go into all of them because it's part of the trickery of the film, but what it meant was we were able to get there and shoot Samantha just acting, just lost in the character, and it was electrifying to watch her work.
Is it true that there was a standing ovation on set for her? I've been reading that.
We got a nice round of applause from the rest of the cast and the crew after one of her scenes, and that's not something that happens every day. It was a pretty magical thing to see.
Sure. What films did you kind of screen for the cast and crew ahead of the Odyssey, if any?
Well, we tend to do screenings on film and really have a look at the textures of films that might inspire us. And usually those influences are pretty indirect. On this film, it was things like Tarkovsky's Andrei Rublev we looked at. Akira Kurosawa's Ran, which is just such an incredible film. It's such an incredible sort of use of landscape and wind in particular. We watched that film and thought, yeah, these sort of banners flapping in the wind and everything. We thought that's an important part of what we're doing. We looked at Scorsese's Last Temptation of Christ, which is such a kind of fresh and accessible, window into history. Yeah, I mean, we look at a lot of films just for, really not for the specifics, really just for a generalized inspiration of like what the texture of a film can be.
What I love about you is you keep raising, you don't make it easy on yourself, but you make it look easy. It's what we could all aspire to be, and would probably fail at doing. But is shooting fully in IMAX now the benchmark for you, or was it just that this story required that?
Well, it's a bit of both. I first encountered IMAX when I was about 16 years old, and watching documentaries at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. and being so impressed with this format, the enveloping, immersive nature of it, thinking, why on earth doesn't Hollywood do this? And so it's been a very long journey, starting with The Dark Knight. That was the first film where we were able to go to IMAX and say, lend us your cameras. Let's try this on the action scenes. Let's do things like the introduction of the Joker, the truck flip, those kind of things, all done on IMAX and projected on IMAX. But we were never able to do the whole film that way. We've used the technology a lot over the years, but we couldn't do the dialogue scenes because the cameras are very, very loud, very noisy. So knowing we were doing the Odyssey, I sort of went to IMAX and said, look, if ever we're going to do the whole film on IMAX, this is the movie to do it with. So can you find a way to muffle the sound of the camera? Can you find a way to build, they built this blimping system, this sort of high-tech box that you put the camera into, and then you can shoot the dialogue scenes. And so for the first time ever, long-held dream of mine, we're able to do the entire movie that way. But yes, it was a combination of wanting to do this for a long time and developing the technology to do it, but then also really feeling that this was the movie that you wanted to see the whole thing on IMAX.
So if you'd made it all those years ago when you didn't have that, you'd be like, damn, I wish I'd waited.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you could go back and remake any film with this camera that you now have of yours, fully in IMAX, which would you want to remake it?
I don't look back in that way.
No.
You trust the process you go through at the time. But certainly there are a lot of sequences, a lot of films we did where we would have used the IMAX camera if we could have, and we just couldn't.
And you just couldn't at the time. Yeah. Absolutely. Last question. What's every film must start with an idea or a vision in your head. What was it with the Odyssey that you were like, okay, that is going to be my next film? What was the moment that you made that decision? What was inspired it?
It's a slower process for me than that. It's something, it's a world I'd wanted to look at for 20 years. I mean, 20 years ago, I was briefly attached to direct Troy for Warner Brothers. And so I did a lot of thinking about the Trojan horse and how I would portray that and make that credible. And I had that image in my head. I've had it in my head for 20 years of this horse sinking into the sand and about to be destroyed by the waves. So I had that. And then really coming out of Oppenheimer, which was a film that had far more success than we'd ever imagined for it, which was wonderful. And it leaves you with an opportunity. You have the chance to do something that you wouldn't have to do otherwise. And so the Odyssey, the scale of that, what that was going to require, suddenly that was possible. So you go, okay, let's go for it.
One of the biggest movie crossroads of all is you not doing Troy and doing, I presume, Batman instead.
Yes, I did the Dark Knight trilogy instead.
That's wonderful, isn't it? I mean, it all works out the right way. Christopher Nolan, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
See you on the next one.
Yeah.